Hi, everyone. I'm Mad Hildebrandt, and this is the Get Mad Show. Today, our guest is Laura Montoya. She's running for U.S. Congress in New Mexico's 3rd District. She's also the current treasurer of Sandoval County. Let's go. Welcome to the show, Laura. We're so excited to have you here this morning and to spend some time with our viewers.
I am so happy to be here, and I'm happy to say hello, Dr. Mad.
Thank you. Well, we're happy to say hello, Treasurer Laura. So, can you, right off the bat here in the beginning of the show, top of the show, the way we do, tell the viewers who you are as a person and just introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. Well, I'm very happy to be here with you this morning. My name is Laura Montoya. I am the current Sandoval County Treasurer and candidate for Congress in District 3. What really makes me happy is talking about my family. So my mom and my dad have been married for 43 years. I'm the oldest, so a lot of times I'm being told that I'm the bossy one. I have a younger sister who is a behavioral health and psychotherapist. And then my brother is in public safety. He now works for the state fire marshal's office, but he used to be a firefighter and EMT. So we're originally from Las Vegas and Mora. I love to go fishing with my dad when I can. It's very peaceful for me. But sometimes when I have a lot on my mind, I like to go and stack wood or bale hay, just so I can get my mind off of other things, and somehow the labor makes it feel better or makes me feel like I accomplished something in the solution process. I was a volleyball player in middle school, high school, and college. I was a Rotary scholar and studied at the University of Costa Rica. I absolutely love Rotary because if it wasn't for Rotary, I wouldn't have been able to attend. But we did a lot of community service in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and I was able to study international relations and Spanish. Those are fun tidbits.
Yeah, those are great tidbits. It's a lot, a lot of things. It's it's so often we do find kind of a respite and joy in that kind of handwork, like you say, stacking the hay, chopping the wood, doing those things. And a lot of us that are, now that we're stuck at home, if you have land anyway, a lot of people are out gardening. You see all the stuff about people baking these days, and we're searching for those things. And so that's really interesting that the things that you're doing, like what we're talking about, this thing about these people that are stuck at home finding new things to do, is because, of course, of our pandemic and COVID-19. Can you speak to that for a minute about what's happening in your area?
Yes. So actually, we have been very busy during COVID. As a county elected official, I'm part of the Emergency Operation Command, and we receive and are on a lot of phone calls with Washington, D.C., the governor's office, the county, trying to make sure and figure out how do we keep our employees safe. We have 423 county employees. How do we keep our county safe? In particular, Sandoval County has towns, villages, the big city of Rio Rancho, but we also have our Pueblos, 2 Navajo chapters, in the Apache. So District 3 really is a microcosm of Sandoval County. And as we started seeing the numbers increase, we realized that we needed to do something more. So I originally started with fabric and elastic and thought $1,000 worth of it would save the world. And very easily found out that that's not even close. So I ended up learning about and meeting some amazing people, including Robin from Operation Bandana, New Mexico. And so we partnered together to try to start getting masks to all of the hotspots. And that developed into a bigger and bigger and bigger aspect of humanitarian work. And so there's over 360 mask makers that are part of our crew, and they're helping get masks to all of the areas we could possibly think of, or if someone turns in an application, we get them what we can. So all of District 3 has been touched somehow or another by Operation Bandana with the mask. And then last week, we went up to several Navajo chapters, San Juan and McKinley hospitals, and we took a huge tractor trailer of water, 9 pallets of water, a lot of masks and essentials that are needed both for the medical group and then for food and other supplies for our community members out there, just to let them know they're not alone and that we're all in this together. You know, if some people aren't healthy, then other people are not going to be healthy. And then on the work side, I've been working on the stimulus package. Today, you'll see something in the news about the state and local government, tribal governments working on a stimulus package to help us to be able to recover from COVID-19, as well as helping with previous stimulus packages that didn't include us if you were under 500,000 population or you didn't have a business that could qualify based on the 75% having to go towards salaries. So we've been really busy.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the humanitarian work is really important, and I'm glad to see that you're involved in that, and that it's more than just a photo op, like the thing with the Jimmy Kimmel and Vice President Pence thing that blew up over Mother's Day weekend, where Pence was out with the boxes. He was delivering boxes of PPE and to hospitals for the photo op, of course, for the photo op, because he isn't out there really doing that. And yeah, and then Jimmy Kimmel shared it, and then the Twitter fest and all the stuff, and it blew up.
Sure.
But I've shared that on my Facebook, so anybody who wants to go see that, go to my Facebook page.
I'll have to go see it. I'm really bad at paying attention to TV and other items because we've just been so busy. We're also doing food distribution. So for anyone who's listening to this interview, please, if you are healthy and you can go help at the Food Depot, you'll be safe. You'll have a mask and gloves. You'll be by yourself, but they could really use your help, and especially if you're younger, your strength.
Right. So let's talk about that. Let's look at healthcare for a minute here. If COVID-19 goes directly into healthcare, obviously, because people are so concerned about it and concerned about access to healthcare. And so let's look at your thoughts on that.
Okay. So there's always been an excuse that there's not enough money to provide healthcare. Yet now that we're in a pandemic, there's absolutely been money to put Band-Aids on everything. As I've traveled throughout San Juan County and McKinley County, even, for example, Rio Arriba County, there are certain areas that have contaminated water. For example, even in Clovis, in Curry County, there's people who have lack of water. 30 to 50 families in almost all of the Navajo chapters that we visited do not have running, drinking, clean water. We saw people that were getting water from a trough so that they could try to drink it. We had to explain, no, you have to come to the chapter house to get the water. This is unacceptable. They would not, Navajo communities, the native communities are 11% of our population in New Mexico, but they're being hit 5 times greater. And it's because of the fact that they don't have great access to healthcare and they don't have running water, so that even the simple things of washing your hands and making sure you're drinking warm fluids, they can't necessarily do that. For them, it's, even though it's essential, it's not there. And so that's one of my number one responsibilities, looking into this race and what I need to do. That is one thing I need to bring light to, because I know that the federal government has money to put it in white communities and other states, but when it comes to New Mexico or brown communities, they think that it's okay to put the 5 years of general fund money and split it up. And I don't think that that's right. So if some of us are not healthy, none of us are healthy. And in San Juan and McKinley, if we keep continuing to get high increases there, it negatively impacts the entire economy, all of our small businesses, everyone that can't go to work because of the fact that we're still trying to flatten that curve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. We're watching as we're reopening, and that feels so frightening to a lot of people, that are we opening too quickly? And I know that here in New Mexico we're opening more, we're taking a much more measured approach than many other states, but the thing that's happening in other states is also, of course, going to affect us. I know that
It's
one,
absolutely affecting us.
yeah.
Just in Clayton this last week, we shifted our gears to Clayton and to Clovis and Portales because Texas had made a decision to open up a lot more of their establishments. And so what they're seeing there is that a lot of people are coming in from Texas, no masks, stopping at the gas stations, trying to pick up food, and move on to northern New Mexico where they have a secondary home. Well, we don't have hotspots out here in the northern New Mexico area. We don't want to create any either because somebody didn't have, the respect of keeping those boundaries that New Mexico is trying to do because of the fact that we do not have the medical resources if we have high numbers.
Right.
I believe that the governor did a great job in being very proactive in opening the floodgates for us to get federal funding, as well as make sure that we're not putting as much pressure on our hospitals in San Juan and McKinley. They're really struggling. A lot of our caregiving facilities are really struggling for our elderly. So we really need to be cognizant of it. And I know some people think that it's not important or that it's not necessary, but when you go into those areas and you see people dying and multiple family members lost, and they're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to figure out how do they pay for these funeral expenses, how do they mentally as healthcare providers deal with all of this death. It is very impactful from a psychological standpoint, mental standpoint, and healthcare standpoint. So my idea of healthcare is very different. I believe in a rural component that no one's talking about in any of the programs that have been discussed. I
Mm.
believe that it should be affordable and accessible and absolutely efficient. So if you decide you need to go to the doctor, it shouldn't take you 3 months to get a doctor's appointment and pay a copay and then have to go to another specialist, pay a copay there, and then go back to your other doctor to tell them what you said a month later. It's unacceptable. I mean, in 2020, we have the capability of being much more efficient and more cost effective. The other part is that pharmaceuticals are one group that I decided I would not take money from because they do not fall in line with my values. So there's pharmaceuticals, payday lenders, tobacco industry, and corporate oil and gas. And I have stuck to that promise.
Yeah, that's that is something that we need to be seeing, is that change in getting that money, that the money that doesn't align with our own values out of our own platforms. Um, let's turn really quickly, because I know that you feel an attachment between water and healthcare. So can we talk about that really fast? Because got to keep going, moving forward.
Sure. I think we've pretty much touched on it, but I'm going to
Yeah.
be a fighter for making sure that every family has access to clean water. Chama doesn't have clean water right now. Clovis doesn't have clean water. The military, there has been contamination of water. And then, of course, in our Navajo and Pueblo communities, a lot of people don't have water there either. So we need to build bridges, not walls. We need to make sure and communicate with our tribal leaders and see how it is that we can work together to make sure that everyone has those simple essentials that are critical in a healthcare pandemic, but should be at the forefront all the time. And that includes also broadband.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that when I was running for Congress down here in the South, water was just such an important thing to me, because my own family, we had lost our farm to to the federal government over water rights, because they were going to put in a reservoir, which they didn't eventually put in. But just that the idea of water in this dry, the desolate state, which is so beautiful, but
Absolutely.
yet water is so precious here. And but there are some things that we have in abundance, and that is wind and solar, sun. And so can you talk about energy and this idea of transition to clean energy that you're talking about?
Sure. I think there's a lot of different things you can look at. For example, in San Juan, they're looking at technological advancements in carbon capture. In New Mexico, we could utilize solar and wind. They're number 3 and I think number 7 in energy resources. We need to start shifting our belief system in how we can move New Mexico forward and utilize solar and wind as part of those products. There you go, simply done.
Because as we're moving down to the bottom of the hour. Okay, then let's, you are a county treasurer, and
Yes.
that means that one of the strengths that you're going to be bringing into your seat, if you're the one that gets elected, is this eye for detail where money is concerned, and budgets and all of these things that we're all so concerned about right now. So can you talk
Yes.
then about the economy and what you see is necessary to make some change?
Absolutely. So I'm glad people are paying attention now. We've had the lowest interest rates in our history since I've been alive. When I first started as county treasurer, interest rates were very low. We had just finished the 2009 market crash. Um, we have done really well in the last couple of years. As a county treasurer, I've made some really smart decisions with my team to make sure that we're still getting interest earned on our accounts so that our taxpayers don't have to pay any more for services. So we're doing well on that end. But as far as working class families, the tax reform that Trump put in is going to be horrible for working families. We need to make sure that we fix it before those items go into effect for tax year 2021. So that would be one of my number one priorities. I really have mentioned to people I want to be on Ways and Means Committee, and I believe that I have the qualifications, and hopefully that will help go a long way to convince them that I can bring something to the table. I invest $40 million as a treasurer. I am responsible for $50 million in non-property tax revenue and over $1.4 billion in property taxes. So when taxpayers look at someone that knows how to make a dollar out of 15 cents by being very efficient and cost effective, somebody that knows how taxes can negatively impact or positively impact the overall system, you're going to want someone that has that type of financial experience right now when we're looking at stimulus funding, how that's going to affect the United States, and also including trade agreements through our nations. We need to make sure that New Mexico's economy and market rates go up instead of having other economies be able to increase their rates on the backs of Americans. So I am very adamant about bringing the financial side of this conversation to this congressional race, because we need to get people back to work. We need to figure out new ways of our new norm on how we're going to get people to work. When you're talking about education, you need to also include the trades. We need broadband everywhere, and that is affordable and accessible and has the right benchmark on the for the FCC benchmark. So I know that it's very important for me to be at the table because I bring a lot of expertise to the process. Working at the New Mexico legislature for many years, both in the House and the Senate, in several different capacities, has helped me learn how to draft, amend, create legislation that can help us move forward. Building relationships bipartisanly between the House and the Senate, and also at the national level, working as the Vice Chair of Finance, Pension, and Intergovernmental Affairs. I'm on the Rural Action Caucus, so I know that I can bring in a lot of other elected officials that have the same values, bringing them all together, helping us get the congressional delegation to push some legislation forward so that we can finally get the clean water that we all need and deserve, that we can finally get broadband, because both of those issues are equity issues. There's an equality issue in that. If you live somewhere where you don't have good health care or access to it, or you're afraid you're going to go bankrupt because you're going to go to the doctor, 56% of all bankruptcies are due to the fact that that it's medical bills.
Right.
So if you don't have those safeguards, then you have more stress, you have more anxiety, you have more healthcare problems, and you don't have an equal fighting chance or a fair shake at having the same equal opportunities as an American. And that's unacceptable to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is showing the strengths that you would be bringing. One thing that I want to point out, because it is affecting today's show, is the issue of broadband, and the fact that if you don't live in the city or in certain areas here in New Mexico, we are affected by that. And it's affecting us now in this particular episode, where every now and again, you're going to see these little glitches, and that is what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am a strong proponent of equal access to broadband. I'm from a rural community. I was born and raised in one of the counties that's the poorest in District 3.
Yeah.
So I completely understand the idea of not having access to a lot of things, whether it was school programs or opportunity for jobs. I completely get it.
Yeah.
And that's why now living in the city, knowing and seeing the opportunities that can be available to you if you have the equal access,
right,
makes me believe that you have to combine those efforts together, because people should have the ability and the right to stay and live in their communities that they love, that they were born and raised in, and help to flourish them to be successful.
Yes,
We
and
don't all need to be in the city.
Right, and to still have all of those things that you can have in the city, and there is an equity and fairness that needs to be found. We are now at the very end, and so we've got to wrap things up here, and I do want to thank you, and I want to give you one more minute, and we need to really stick to it because we've got a schedule here. So to give you 1 minute to 1 minute to appeal directly to the voters about why they should be choosing you. So go ahead.
My name is Laura Montoya. I am a candidate running for Congress in District 3. I have 17 years of public service working for U.S. Senator Jeff Bingaman, working at the State Treasurer's Office, Human Services Department, New Mexico Legislature, and now currently managing billions of dollars on behalf of taxpayers. I want to utilize my skills to be able to help New Mexicans to move forward. My 3 priorities are making sure that everyone has access to clean drinking water, making sure that everyone has broadband, and in essence, being able to have health care that's affordable, accessible, with a rural component for all New Mexicans. Please visit my website, lauramontoya4nm.com. Follow us on Facebook. You'll see a lot of the things that we've been doing as public servants, putting our feet to the fire and making sure and help the most vulnerable in our communities. It would be my honor to have your vote. Please make sure to go to nmvote.org so that you can get your absentee ballot and vote for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. And thank all of you out there for watching today. And I urge you to go to Laura Montoya's website and read more about her, and then continue on to check out the other candidates. This is a really strong field. There's not a person out there that is not a strong candidate, in my opinion. And it's worth checking everybody out. Make sure that you vote in the primary. It is so important to vote in primaries, because this is when you select the person that you want to see on the general election ballot that represents your party. And it's just really important to get out there and do that. And also make sure that you subscribe with the subscribe button below, and so that you don't miss any of these important conversations with your candidates. And thank you everybody for watching, and thank you, Laura, so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all. Day. And thank you, and we'll see you all next time.